What if the most powerful love stories are not announced, but discovered in whispers, shadows, and moments meant to stay unseen? That is the question gripping the world after reports began to surface that Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo quietly boarded a private jet, far from flashing cameras and public schedules, setting off on what many are calling a secret romantic getaway. No press release. No confirmation. Just fragments of sightings, carefully guarded movements, and a silence so deliberate it feels intentional. And sometimes, silence speaks the loudest. According to those close enough to notice, but far enough to remain unheard, the departure did not resemble the chaos of celebrity travel. There were no crowds, no rushed security lines, no public terminals. Instead, a private hangar, dim lights, minimal staff, a jet waiting, engines humming softly, as if aware it was carrying more than passengers. It was carrying a moment meant to remain untouched. Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo were reportedly calm, unhurried, not hiding but not announcing either. Two figures who understand fame so deeply that they know exactly how to move within it without feeding it. That understanding alone has fueled the intrigue. Because this was not a careless escape. This was precision. This story isn't over. Subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. We follow the moments and emotions of your favorite TV stars. Stay with us. Ever since their unexpected red carpet appearance together sent shockwaves through Fashion Week, speculation had been simmering just beneath the surface. Fans felt it. Insiders sensed it. Something had shifted. Their chemistry was not loud, not performative, but unmistakably grounded. And now, with this sudden private flight, the narrative has taken on a new gravity. A private jet is not just transportation. It is intention. It suggests privacy chosen deliberately. Time carved out from impossibly busy lives. A destination selected not for headlines, but for distance. Distance from expectations. From assumptions. From the constant gaze of a world that watches their every move. Those familiar with both stars know this aligns perfectly with who they are. Lee Min-ho has always been strategic with his personal life, revealing nothing he does not choose to. Song Hye Kyo, known for her quiet boundaries, has long believed that what matters most should be protected, not displayed. If there were ever two people capable of orchestrating a getaway without leaving a trail, it would be them. What makes this moment so compelling is not just the idea of romance, but the maturity behind it. This is not a whirlwind scandal. Not a publicity-driven pairing. It feels restrained, thoughtful, almost old-fashioned in its discretion. Two adults who have lived under relentless attention choosing to step away, even briefly, to exist without an audience. There is poetry in that. Details remain scarce, and perhaps that is exactly the point. No confirmed destination. No leaked photos. Just a timeline that suddenly went quiet. Schedules cleared. Public appearances paused. And two global icons momentarily absent from the noise they usually dominate. For fans, the absence itself became the headline. Speculation has ranged from a secluded European retreat to a private island escape, but the truth remains carefully guarded. And strangely, that mystery has only deepened the emotional pull of the story. Because the less we know, the more it feels real. If this were a performance, it would be louder. Instead, it feels personal. Industry observers have noted how rare it is for stars of their stature to move so quietly. Most high-profile relationships leak before they begin. This one, if it exists, seems built on mutual understanding and shared values. Privacy, timing, control, and perhaps respect. What cannot be ignored is how naturally this narrative fits the image they have both cultivated over decades. Lee Min-ho, the leading man whose charisma is strongest when understated. Song Hye Kyo, the embodiment of calm strength and timeless grace. Together, they represent a kind of romance that does not chase attention, but earns fascination simply by existing. Whether this getaway is the beginning of something deeper or merely a brief shared pause remains unknown. But maybe that is what makes it so powerful. In a world where every moment is documented, analyzed, and consumed, The idea that two of the most recognizable faces in Asia could slip away quietly feels almost revolutionary. It reminds us that not everything meaningful is meant to be seen. Sometimes, the most romantic stories unfold far from the spotlight. And if Lee Min-ho and Hye Kyo did indeed board that private jet together, leaving the world behind even for a short while, then what they carried with them was not just luggage or destination plans. It was choice. The choice to protect something fragile. The choice to move quietly. The choice to let the world wonder. And as the jet disappeared into the sky, the story did not end. It deepened. Because what followed was not confirmation, but something far more compelling. Silence. No denials. No hurried clarifications. No carefully worded statements from agencies attempting to shut the narrative down. Just an unusual calm that only intensified the speculation. In the world of celebrity, silence is never empty. It is deliberate. Those who have followed Lee Min-ho and Hye Kyo for years know this pattern well. When rumors are false, they are often dismissed quickly. When they are inconvenient, they are redirected. But when something is personal, something still forming, something fragile enough to deserve protection, silence becomes a shield. And this silence felt protective. Industry insiders quietly noted how both stars adjusted their schedules almost simultaneously. Public appearances delayed. Social media activity slowed. The usual rhythm of visibility disrupted just enough to be noticed. Not enough to confirm anything. Just enough to suggest distance. And distance, in this case, felt intentional. As if two people had stepped off the stage together, not to disappear, but to breathe. What makes this story resonate so deeply is not the fantasy of romance, but the humanity behind it. These are not young stars discovering fame. These are veterans who have endured public love, public heartbreak, and relentless scrutiny. If they chose to share something, even briefly, it would not be impulsive. It would be considered. There is a maturity to this narrative that feels different from ordinary celebrity gossip. No leaked selfies. No staged sightings. No dramatic reveals. Just movement, timing, and a shared understanding of how to navigate a world that rarely allows privacy. And that understanding may be the most romantic element of all. Observers have pointed out how their recent public energies seemed aligned even before this alleged getaway. A similar calm. A shared sense of grounded confidence. Two people no longer driven by the need to prove anything, but guided by clarity. When such individuals cross paths, the connection, if it exists, would not need validation. It would simply exist. Speculation continues, of course. It always does. But what stands out is how restrained the conversation feels compared to other rumors. Almost respectful. As if even the public senses that this story, whatever its truth, is not meant to be forced into the light too quickly. Because some moments lose their meaning when rushed. Whether they are spending days in quiet conversation, walking somewhere far from recognition, or simply sharing a pause between demanding lives, the idea itself has captured imagination worldwide. Not because it promises drama, but because it suggests peace. And peace is rare. If this is a romance, it is not one built on spectacle. It is built on understanding, on shared experience, on the choice to move quietly in a world that constantly demands noise. And if it is not, if it is simply two individuals seeking rest, then even that says something profound. That companionship does not always need labels. That connection does not always need explanation. In either case, the image remains powerful. A private jet. A quiet departure. Two lives stepping briefly beyond the reach of expectation. The world may never know exactly what happened behind that closed cabin door. And perhaps that is how it should be. Because the most compelling stories are not always the ones we see unfold, but the ones we are allowed only to imagine. And for now, imagination is enough.